Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone from wherever you may be. Thank you very much for joining myself and Richard today. We're going to look at simplifying some everyday Revit tasks with some efficiency and some elegance with the help of the awesome Ideate apps. So a very quick PowerPoint from myself. A little bit about our brand and everything about Exitech, and one of the major ethoses behind our brand is all about partnerships, which is why we're in partnership with the guys at Ideate to provide some awesome software to you guys. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Richard Taylor from IdeateApps, and I'm just going to pass over to him, and he's going to do an awesome presentation showing you some pretty amazing and cool information. So good morning to you, Richard. Thank you very much for joining me.
Appreciate everyone today joining us for Simplify Everyday Revit Tasks with Efficiency and Elegance with the help of IdeateApps. Again, my name is Richard Taylor. I'm the technical evangelist at Ideate Software, and obviously you can tell from my accent, I'm over in the United States. So Ideate Software is all about simplifying your Revit data challenges. We create 5 add-on solutions to Revit. And you'll see there at the bottom of the screen, Ideate BIM-Link, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Sticky, Ideate Style Manager, and last but not least, Ideate Apps, which is the collection that we're going to be looking at today. And one of the things I have here on the screen I thought would be nice to show is we have on our website, click there. We have on our website this ROI, so I'm going to click there. And you'll notice that this is from a customer, and so this is available on our website. And I thought this was really nice because what he did is he went through each of the 9 Ideate apps applications, right? And then he did a little ROI, basically saying how much time that it took him to do this manually, and then how much time he was saved by using one of the Ideate apps applications. So that's something you might want to take a look at there. And let's just see. I want to get rid of that. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And so Ideate Software, we're known for our great support. We have a lot of information online, as you saw. In fact, let me just switch over here again to the website. And if you go to any one of our solutions, you'll see that under, for instance, Ideate Apps, we have case studies, we have videos, we have support, which is our help links. I would recommend anyone go and look at videos. If they want to see particular videos about Ideate Apps, we have a whole series of different videos. And we even sort of segment them into what we call playlists. So if you're looking for just, let's say, renumbering or just for sheet and view management, that are part of the Ideate Apps collection I'm going to show today, you can look at those videos and just review those small, usually under 5-minute little videos of how these particular applications can help with your workflows. Then we have in-product help. We also have getting started guides. And then we are supporting the last 4 releases of Revit. So that's Revit 2018 through 2021. So our latest update, in fact, we just did an update last week of all of our 5 applications on the last 4 releases of Revit. So we do have versions that go back beyond that, but we're not updating them with new features and functionality as we are with these last 4 releases of Revit. And then, we do comprehensive testing with large projects. All of our products work with BIM 360, and we realize that many of you, in this new remote world that we're living in, are using BIM 360. So we want to make sure that we work very well with those applications that you're using. So we're here today to see Ideate Apps. And what I'm going to do is give you an overview of the 9 tools within that Ideate Apps collection, right? And in fact, I'll make a little plug. Next month with Exitech, we're going to be doing another presentation. It's specifically focused on one of the tools called Ideate X-Ray. So all of these, like I said, we have sort of a deeper dive, but today it's really more about an overview of these 9 tools. Again, it's a collection of 9 focus-driven tools that allow productivity and efficiency for all Revit users. So these were designed in the sense that if you're a new Revit user, they're going to be very key to you, or if you're an experienced Revit user, they're also going to be very useful. So it doesn't matter, how much you know Revit or how sort of technical you are, they're going to be helpful for any type of Revit user. And that means whether you're architecture, let's say mechanical or HVAC or engineering, it's going to be very beneficial for you. So what I'm going to do is highlight sort of 4 of these applications, and then I'm going to switch over and show you a little overview. And then I'll take a pause, and then we'll go and do the remaining sort of sheet and view tools. So the first application that's part of IdeateApps, and again, when you install IdeateApps, you're getting all 9 of these tools. So it's one software application, but it's sort of 9 individual applications built into that. So the first is called Ideate Renumber. An Ideate Renumber at a very high level basically allows you to renumber almost any Revit element in your project. So we're supplying a whole series of rules to help you get started because they're very customizable and you can renumber, let's say, rooms or doors or view titles. So I'm going to show you some example of how easily we can renumber elements and also customize that. And then Quick Select is another application that allows you to understand exactly the elements within your Revit model. So it is a model browser as opposed to a project browser. It's allowing you to, like I said, look at each instance of every element and be able to search for that, click on it, and be able to make modifications. So you think about the project browser is just showing you things like, let's say you have 100 families in your project. It's not necessarily that you've used all 100. They're loaded into your template, but Quick Select is going to show you basically those families that are used in your model. And then Ideate Smart Delete allows you to understand the implications of making a delete. So in Revit, basically you can remove something, but it's not going to show you the fact that maybe you're removing a floor, but you're also removing dimensions, you're removing tags, you're removing keynotes. And so it's going to tell you all the dependencies. So it's really, you're able to minimize your liability of removing things, because I'm sure you've had this situation where, something gets removed and someone else says, well, gee, I didn't touch it because there was some dependency that was involved in that. And then Ideate Spell Check, we've created this very robust spell check engine. And you might say, well, gee, why do you have Ideate Spell Check when Revit has a spell check engine? But the Revit spell check engine or functionality is very limited. It's only doing one sheet at a time, and it's only doing certain text on that sheet, like basically notes. So it is pretty limited. Whereas our spell check, you can do all open views and sheets at the same time. You can do all text within schedules. And so it's going to show you, as I said, much more robust sort of ecosystem of being able to check the text within your project. And then Ideate X-Ray, this is where I said I was going to focus. There'll be a whole presentation next month, but it allows you to understand why something or why a particular element is not visible in your project. And this can be very frustrating, especially for a BIM manager. One of the designers might say, well, I can't find this, or this grid doesn't display anymore. And so they're running to the BIM manager to try to help them or fix that. Now they can actually have a very easy tool to use to determine why something doesn't display in a particular Revit view. So those are sort of the introductions to the overview of the tools, or the beginning tools I wanted to talk about. Let's switch over here to Revit. And today I'm using Revit 2021, but as I said, we have our tools on and all of our applications on the last 4 releases. So, you're familiar with the architecture and structure and systems panel, right? If you install any one of our Ideate software applications, you will have the Ideate software ribbon panel. And you'll notice that I talked about we have BIM-Link, Explorer, Sticky, where we've done other presentations here with Excitech and Style Manager. There's a vertical line here between Style Manager and Renumber. Everything to the right of Renumber is now part of IdeateApps. So this is that collection of tools that gets installed when you install IdeateApps. Okay. So let's say that our task here is to maybe do some renumbering, right? So I want to show that tool allowing you to renumber elements very easily. So the first thing I might want to do is go over here, and I've got some rules that are already within this particular project, and it's going to give me the rules that are only relevant for this view. Meaning in this view, I have the ability to renumber doors, rooms, and curtain panels based on the information that I have. But I actually have more rules, right, that I've loaded. I've actually got viewports, detail on sheet, update view names, spaces, but it's smart enough to know that I'm not displaying spaces in this view, so it's not going to give me that as an option. So it can really narrow down the choices, which are nice. So I'm going to come over here and just say that, well, you know what? I want to renumber the sequence of rooms to be 500, let's say. And I just want to select the elements. So I can just say start numbering here. And I can basically say, well, you know what? Maybe I want to click on the room tag, right? The vestibule 500. I'm going to come over here to corridor 501, 502, 503, 504, right? So I can just click on the items in any sequence that I want to renumber those. But maybe a better or easier way is to actually define that sequence. So I can do that by selecting this, tick this, create new path, and I can say select path crossing and start numbering. And here I'm going to start in the vestibule. I'm going to tell it to come down to this classroom, and I'm going to basically draw a line. And this is a 2D detail line, so it's nothing special about it per se. And you can, let's say, hide that in the view later on, or it's on a particular category. In fact, we've called it by default Ideate path. You could turn that off afterwards if you didn't want to, if you want to keep it but not have it displayed. So now that I've drawn that particular line, I could hit the escape, and you'll notice that now it shows me a preview of, well, you started with room 500. And now it's going, that basically if it's white, it means it didn't change. Because remember, I had the same room that I could have renamed there. And if it's green, it says, well, this is where the change is. This one was 504. We're now going to change it to 501 and so forth. At any point, I can say, well, with this corridor, I would like to skip over it. So I'm going to ignore that element. Or, I drew the line starting at this point and then kind of going or actually going clockwise. If I wanted to go counterclockwise, I could reverse the direction, right? And say, well, start at the top number and now go the reverse direction. So I'm going to leave it that way. I'm going to, since I started with 500, I'm going to say that that's the direction I want to go. And I'll skip over that corridor. Notice I can zoom to a particular element if I want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and accept the changes. And there you'll notice that we have, 500, 501, 502, 503, and so forth. Now, where I drew this line, you'll notice that there was a couple selections there, right? There was the selection for what we call crossing and vertex. So crossing means that I crossed through this corridor, right? And it was able to, let's say, you'll notice that I crossed through that corridor and it picked that up as 501. And then I crossed through this theme classroom as 503, it picked that up. The other selection is meaning only renumber by the vertex. So if I actually do that, renumber, and I'm going to select the same, let's just say that I want it to be now 600s, right? Instead of the 500s, just to show you the difference. And I'll say, select path by vertex, start numbering. I can pick the same line, and now it's only going to get those areas or those where I actually selected the points. So if I say accept changes, you'll notice that the vestibule is 600, this theme classroom is 601, but it skipped over the corridor. because it was only renumbering those elements where the actual vertex was inside the room. So there's a number of ways that you can do this, which is really nice, being able to select different methods. And then depending on the rule, like in this case, if I switch to doors, the doors are based on the rule on the room name. So therefore, I can do that all at once by auto number by view and say start numbering. And I can look at this and say, oh, okay, well, here's all of the doors, right? And this one, maybe I want to switch the from room and to room. So it's now looking at the other, it's looking at the from room as opposed to the to room. I can also select and shift, let's say on 3 of these, and I can either ignore the element or I can report on the other value. So there's 2 selections here. This little toggle that says from room to room is actually flipping the relationship in the database. This one here is just reporting on the opposite one. So you have 2 selections. You can just report on the opposite one, or you can actually make the change, which is, that from room and to room parameter within Revit. So I can go ahead and accept the changes, and you'll see then that those doors are renumbered. And like in this particular case, this was corridor 501. You'll see there's 504A, there's 504B, there's 504C. That was the way that I had that particular rule. So again, if I come back over here to the renumber, just to give you a preview of what this is, like if I go to doors and I go to edit that, there's a little rule here. It says pick the room number and increment it by A. And then you can add a field, and we'll do this in a moment with some other rules, but you can actually pick anything from the Revit database. So you can say that, oh, you know what, I want to have, as an example, let's just say, let's come over here, come down here to let's say width. I wanted to show the width, right? So it'd be, WD or something as a little preview. So I'm basically saying take the room number, increment it by A, and then add the width field. And then you can actually push it into any text-based parameter. So in this case, typically it's the mark, a tag, but you could actually push it into other items as well. Again, even a shared parameter, like a Kobe parameter. So that's really nice, being able to update that information and either pull from the database or push into the parameter of the database as well. So a lot of flexibility there. So again, if you want to know more about the sort of the rules and all the sort of options, we have a couple little videos on renumbering and how you can customize those rules. Well, then I want to, but let's jump ahead here to Quick Select. So I'm going to select on the next tool called Quick Select. And this is what I mentioned. It's a model browser, not a project browser. So if I switch over here to the entire project, it's going to show me all 36,000 elements in this project. And you notice it categorizes them by the category, family, and type. So if I come down here and let's say I search for the word concrete, it's going to give me detail items, floors, view references. So let's say views. There is this view on a sheet that's called sill detail at slab and concrete walk. So by double clicking, it will open up the view. Because it's on a sheet, I can see here by the way it's classified, I can right click and open up the sheet that contains that particular view as well. So I can navigate to that. If I want to go to, let's say, something else like, let's say my floors, right? If I wanted to go to a concrete bench, I can double click and it's going to go there and I can highlight and basically select it and say, well, there's that concrete bench in that particular view. Let's clear this off, or clear the search criteria here. And it also shows me things that are just not going to be shown in the project browser. Another really important one is CAD imports or CAD links. As I expand on this, you'll notice that I have 173 different CAD imports. I've got some door details here, and I've got 2 instances of it. Well, the first instance, if I click on it, just like I did before, it opens up the view. It's an A8 door details view. Here's the AutoCAD file that was the link, and that looks good. But this one, if I double click, it tells me, well, gee, it's hidden. So it says, would you like to open up the view and turn on reveal hidden elements? So I open up that view, right? And it's going to then automatically go into that mode. Well, first off, I can see that it's the first floor building code. Well, there shouldn't be a door detail CAD link in that. So you can see what's been hidden there. Probably someone accidentally copied that AutoCAD file, then did a, right click, hide in view, forgot about it. So I can remove that, right? And now my CAD imports here, I only have the one instance of the door details, right? And then I can say, well, you know what, let's go back here and turn off reveal hidden elements. And, if I'm done with that view, I can say that, okay, now I know that I've got a clean project. Another thing I could do here with different items is let's go down to lines. I've got 17,000 lines. Notice that most of them are detail lines. If I expand on that, I've got a number of lines that might have been exploded from AutoCAD. So if I select on these, let's say I'll just do a few of them and say, all right, I've got 338 lines selected, and I want those to be my line style of, let's say, a detail fine. So I'm now basically moving those elements over to that classification. So if I go again to lines, now if I expand on that, I don't have those other, what was it, 5, numbered sequence lines. They're all under a detail fine now. So again, a great way for me to search, classify, and really understand everything that's in my project. And just like I said, just want to kind of reiterate on this is that, it's showing you all the families. So if I go down here to furniture as an example, I may have more furniture within my project that's shown in my project browser, but this is showing me exactly that I have 427 pieces of furniture in my project. And if I wanted to go to, I've got 14 chairs that are this specification, and I can go to each individual instance of it. If there's no open view, then it's going to open up the view, and then I can specify or look at where that chair is in this particular case. So again, really nice for a model browser. And then the next, so that we talked about renumber and quick select. Let's talk about smart delete. Smart delete, as I mentioned to you, is showing you all the dependencies of elements where you potentially could delete them or not, but you're going to review that. So if I come over here I've got a nice little view set up here. So let's go here to a detail view. And just to show you what I'm talking about here is if I take this floor slab, right? This is a floor, it's a model element. I'm going to go over here to the Revit delete and just remove it. Notice it goes away, no errors, no problems, we're all good. And you may not think that anything else happened, but if I undo that and then click on the floor slab, now we're going to go back over here to Ideate software and we're going to select on our smart delete. And it tells me the dependencies. It says, well, in fact, you've got 59 different dimensions. You've got, 5 edit cut profile regions, and you can expand on the dimensions and you can go to a particular view, again, double click and zooming in to see, where, in this view, those dimensions are going to get deleted. And that kind of makes sense because the element's not there anymore. The dimensions are going to get deleted. So that's probably not so problematic. But what's this element? Well, this is a keynote tag. It's an element keynote, and it's been assigned to, or it was basically connected to that floor slab. So when I click on that, here's the projection screen keynote that is now linked to that floor slab, and that element keynote is going to go away if I delete the floor. So that's pretty important to understand that. Like all of a sudden your keynotes are not showing up and you're not quite sure why. Another way to use this tool is I selected one element before, right? But what I can do is say, you know what? I want to select a whole series of elements, so I'll box select, and then I'll go over here to smart delete. And so when I have multiple elements selected, in this case, 377, It's going to then scan through and basically give me a bold text on everything that has a dependency. So everything you see in bold over here to the left, doors, generic models, plumbing fixtures, has a dependency. And what I love is the fact that groups, you can actually see all the individual elements of the group. So in this case, there's a standard office group that has a bookshelf, has a chair, has 2 desks, has 3 furniture tags, and has an extrusion. So, if I'm going to delete that group, I'm going to delete all these elements. If I go down here to walls and expand that a little bit, I always like to kind of show the storefront because that has a lot of different elements to it. I'm going to be deleting the dimensions, the mullions, the system panel, and then the tags for that as well. So if you don't want to delete these elements that have dependencies, you can untick them, right? And say, well, now just delete, the 262 items as opposed to the 300 that I had selected earlier. Or again, I can just use this as a review to see, again, what will be deleted. And then I can sort of make corrections or changes if I want, and then actually go back and do the deletion. So it's really nice that it's giving me that preview. You don't have to actually delete anything. You can just use it as a review. So that is the Ideate Smart Delete. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the spell check. I'm going to come back to X-ray in a second. So as I mentioned with spell check, when you first start that, it's going to ask you, do you want to check all open sheets and views, all sheets in the sheet list, or schedules? And just for my demonstration purposes, I'm just going to do schedules here. So I can check text in schedules, which could be, the view titles. It could be room information, the room names that are like in a schedule. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I think I've got like 5 or 6. I've got 9. So it's actually telling me that it's going through and it's doing 3 of 9 schedules. And then you're going to see over here that it's giving me a preview of information or words that may not match what I have in the dictionary. And in fact, I can configure multiple dictionaries. In fact, dictionaries that go beyond what Revit is supporting as far as different languages. So in this case, I'll show you, like, this is RFI, which is request for information. And in fact, that may be something that, is an abbreviation. I want to add that to my dictionary. So I'm just going to say add to the dictionary, meaning that it's not a mistake. That's something that I don't want to check again, basically, or I don't want to have the spell check engine check again. And this is something that, that was like a name of an element. So I'm just going to say, ignore all. I'm not going to worry about that ARDG. FFE, furniture, fixture, and equipment, that I want to maybe add that to my dictionary. Now, this one is a problem. Schedule is spelled incorrectly, but it's also giving me a warning. And for those of you that may know that Ideate Sticky allows you to link in information from an Excel file and show in a Revit schedule. So it's telling me that, hey, this is a sticky schedule. I'm going to be able to make the change to the misspelled word, but you really should go back to Excel to make that final change. So I'm going to go and change this right now, but it's giving you that warning. And what's great is it's also checking like keynotes. So the keynotes are stored in the keynote.txt file. And so it will tell you that, hey, I can't make the change because you need to go out to the txt file and make the change. HQ, that might be something I want to add to the dictionary too. So let's go ahead and add that. And at any time I can stop if I want. I think there's only, there should be just a little bit more. I'm going to ignore all here. And you can see that it's working on right here. It's, of 6,868 elements here. I'm going to ignore all that. And so I'm on schedule 7 of 9 here. And you can see that there's a percentage that's being done here. And again, I'll just ignore these. There shouldn't be too much more here of these items that come up. I think there might be one more sticky. But now we're on 8 of 9, basically. And, like I said, it's really nice because it's giving you sort of all this interaction in the dialogue itself, right? And you can see here now it's it's kind of zooming along because there are no misspellings. So you can decide, like I said, to do the entire project all at once, or you can decide to do smaller pieces of that depending upon what you have for the sheet view and sheet list. So now that should be, like I said, great. So it checked 21,000 words, right? We modified that one element, the word schedule, and we added 3 words to the dictionary. And it gave me 18 warnings. And those warnings were basically things like you saw that, oh, I just ignored that word. So I can actually send this off as a report, which is great. I can save that off as an Excel report, or I can just close that. Now, I wanted to show you, like when we add words to the dictionary, what happens here is if I go over here to my options, and we're going to go over here to check spelling, here are the dictionaries, right? And it was using American English, and there are these selections, right, that are available within Revit, but we go beyond that as well. So we have, for instance, Portuguese, and we have, I think, Polish, and other languages. But anyway, the point I wanted to show you was that if I edit this, notice here were the last one, or the last 3, we added RFI, FFE, and HQ. And so what that does is it gets added to this particular custom dictionary. So it's very tightly integrated with Revit in the dictionaries that are being used, and that's that personal dictionary. So like I said, really nice feature being able to check all of the text very easily and quickly. So let's go over, I'm going to switch over to another view here and switch windows to my project called Hide and Seek. So a lot of times we have a problem where a particular element is not visible in a view. So as an example, let's come down here to our families, right? And we've got some furniture families. Let's come down to a chair, let's say, a chair stacking. And my job is to take this chair and place this in the view. Well, then I get this warning. None of the created elements are visible in the floor plan view. And I'm like, that's interesting. So why is that, right? So here's where X-Ray can help you. If you come over here and select on Ideate X-Ray, this little wizard pops up and basically says, well, what are you looking for? A 3D element, a 2D element, a grid, or a level? You know what? I would like to search for a 3D element because that's a chair. And so somewhere in here should be a chair. And what I can do is I can sort by category here, but in this case I don't really need to too much because I've got the furniture category, the chair stacking. I can say next, and I can basically say find the element. Tell me why it's not being displayed. And it goes through a check of about 55, 60 different methods, and it comes up and it says, this is pretty simple, hidden by category. But maybe I'm not even going to read this, right? And I go, oh, hidden by category. I'm going to come over here and bring up my categories. Ooh, they're all grayed out. How come I can't change it? Well, because it's telling you before you do anything, the view category is being driven by a view template called Ideate Plan. And that's the sort of deciding factor there. So what I can do is say, oh, okay, now I understand. I can come over here to the properties and say, oh, Ideate Plan, that was a mistake. That should have been architectural plan instead. And now I want to apply that view template to this view. And so sure enough, you can see that then all of the chairs, the chair stackings display correctly. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. Now I have, lots of different problems sort of set up, but I'm just going to show you another one here where I may want to find a plumbing fixture. So there's a toilet here. I don't know why it's not displaying. So now I'm going to go back over here and say, try again. And in this case, I'm going to go to my wizard and again, look for a small area in the target view. So I'm going to say next, select, and say somewhere in here is what I'm looking for. And again, I can sort by family type if I do the top of the column, or name, or category. In this case, category, I can go down here to plumbing fixtures and I can see that, oh, that deluxe toilet is what I was looking for. Next. And then because I was have multiple views of this project now open, I can decide which view I want to review. So this is going to give me, you see the target view is where I'm looking. So basically now that I have the plumbing fixture, the target view, I can say find the element. And it's going to go through. And I'm like, wow, what's happening here? Well, it is actually hidden by not one, not two, but actually three methods, right? It's hidden by element, meaning someone did a right click, hide in view. Well, I can fix that pretty easily by just selecting this fix and say fix only. It still doesn't display because it's hidden by category. What does that mean? I can do show me. Oh, okay, here's the category list, right? And so we can go down to plumbing fixtures and we can see that, oh, they're turned off. So I'm going to turn them back on. Okay, still doesn't display because let's do the work set's not open. Okay, show me. So it brings up the appropriate dialog, which is great, allowing you to interact with Revit. So I can say, let's go over here and open that work set. And then finally, yay, my plumbing fixtures are displayed. So, it may not just be one method that someone hid something, right? It could be multiple. And so Ideate X-Ray is going to be able to show you that. And again, we'll dive deeper into that next month, but you can see that hides per scale. I've got model crop, annotation crops, filters, design options, because when you use the reveal hidden element in Revit, it only shows you those elements that have been turned off by category or those elements that have been turned off by the right click hide in view. It doesn't show you all of these elements, like if it's outside the view range, or if it's in a design option, or if it's being not displayed because of the annotation crop. So there's many, many more. Like I said, we've developed, I believe it's over 55 ways that an element can be hidden within a Revit project. So again, we're at the sort of little break here. We talked about renumber, quick select, smart delete, X-ray, and spell check. So we've gone all over the orange icons here within IdeateApps. And next, we're going to be talking about the sheet and view tools, which are the blue icons that kind of all work together. So what I'm going to do is go and sort of talk about that, and then we can take any questions that people may have before the presentation is over. So the sheet and view tools, like I said, they all kind of work together, and they're all about productivity and efficiency, allowing you to lay out sheets and create sheets and views very easily. So the tool that is sort of the centralized tool is called Ideate Sheet Manager. And in fact, you can create views, you can align. All of the other tools basically are accessible through this Ideate Sheet Manager. So it is sort of the go-to dialog, allowing you to arrange views on sheets very quickly. And then from the sheet manager or from the ribbon panel, you can select the Ideate Align, allowing you to align views across sheets so your floor plans are consistent. If it's a non-floor plan view, such as an elevation or a schedule or a detail, it's going to align based on the upper left crop region. And then Clone allows you to duplicate a sheet because Revit just doesn't allow you to do that. You can't duplicate a sheet in Revit. So we're allowing you to duplicate that sheet, but then also control which viewports. So you can copy the viewports that are on an existing sheet, or you can swap them with maybe a different viewport of the same type. And then finally, our view creator allows you to create new view properties or new views with properties all set up. So like you may need to create 5 new views that are the same floor plan, but they're different design options, or maybe they're different phases. So you can control those, basically the parameters as you're creating the view. Because typically what you might do in Revit is, you copy a view and then you go back and change all of the parameters information. Well, here we're allowing you to create that new view and have all those parameters sort of be set as the view is being created. So let's again switch back over here, and just to make things a little bit easier, I've got a lot of different. Let's say I'm going to close this, and we'll say And I'm going to also close this one here, just to, so we have, because we have so many different views open here. And I'm going to open up one that I have specifically for this, which is the sheet manager. So in our sort of scenario here, we're going to be using the Ideate Sheet Manager to create a new sheet, but also lay out some new views on that sheet as well. So we have this, this finishes sheet, right? That's got a schedule, it's got an elevation view, it's got a plan, some other schedules and so forth. So if I come over here and I select that I want to go to the Ideate Sheet Manager, on the left-hand side are all of the views, and on the right are all the sheets. And by default, it's only showing me views that have not yet been placed on a sheet. If I untick this, you'll notice that it's actually showing me 417 views. If I tick this, it's now down to 130. So that's a really nice, I don't have to do a project browser organization. Basically, I can just, look at those views that are have not yet been placed. So right from here, I can say, you know what, I want to add a new sheet. And just using sort of the tools in Revit to add a sheet name, right? And I'm going to rename that. So I can right click, rename, and basically say, you know what, I want this to be in my sort of Z series here, but it's going to be Z1. And it's going to be the sheet name is called coordination. And say, okay. And so you'll notice that the sheet is listed over here in the right-hand view, right? But it doesn't have any views on it yet. Like these other ones have schedules and have some elevations and floor plans. So I want to sort of manage that. So if I come over here to my floor plans on the left-hand side, I've got my coordination floor plan view. I'm going to click and drag it over to Z.1. So I'm assigning that view to the sheet over here on the right-hand side. And then if I expand this, you'll see that there's that floor plan view. And then I may also want to do the same thing with a schedule. I'd like it to be like a room type schedule. Click and drag that over to my coordination. And then you'll notice that I can actually move views between sheets as well. And in fact, over here, if I have this finishes, right, I wanted to show you, like in the lower right-hand corner is this elevation. If I take that elevation and I drag it to my new Z.1, you're going to see that it's going to be removed from this sheet because a view can only be on one sheet at a time. And now it's on my coordination sheet. If I double click, that opens up the sheet, and then I can start to arrange the views because some of them you didn't exactly know where you wanted the view to be. So I can say, well, I want the floor plan to be over here in the upper left. I want the schedule to be down here in the lower left. And then I want this elevation to be here. So I'm laying that out basically the way that I want. So I say zoom to fit. Now, if I come over here to Revit and go over to my sheets, let's come down here to Z.1 coordination that I'm showing, and I right click and I say duplicate view, notice that it's not available. This is where I was saying that it's just not possible to duplicate a sheet in Revit. There's just not the tools. But with our Ideate Sheet Manager, you can actually duplicate that sheet. So I can come over here to the Z.1 coordination, right? And here is where I can select clone, is what we're calling duplicate. And say that, all right, well, the original one was called, coordination. This one's going to be Z.2, that's fine, but we're going to call this structural. And it's giving you this nice interface of, do you want to copy the view, right? Like I can say, oh, duplicated with detailing, duplicated as a dependent, or I've already got the view created. I just want to swap one for another. So there's this west coordination. I already have one here, west structure. So I'm just going to swap the west coordination with the west structure. And then for the signage elevation, this is a detail, and I want to have a building elevation. So I'm going to untick that for the moment. And I'm going to come down here to my elevations and look at building, and we should have elevation for structure, right? And then the schedules, notice when it says current, schedules can appear on multiple sheets. So, schedules or legends. So that could be current, meaning I could have that same room type schedule. But just to show you that since this is a structural, I have a sticky schedule here where it's going to be showing minimum compressive strength. And I want to have that instead. And then when you're duplicating views, you also have down below here the sort of rules that you can find and replace things. You can add a prefix or suffix if you're duplicating views on a sheet. But in this case, I just basically swapped these existing views for that I already had created to the views that were on this Z.1 coordination. Now I'm making Z.2 structural. So when I say clone, it's now going to take the Z.1 coordination, the title block, if there's any 2D information on that view, and also duplicate it. But then it's going to lay out the viewports in the same configuration that I had on the previous sheet. So now when I'm done here, there is my new sheet. So if I come down here, there was Z.1 coordination, right? And there's Z.2 structural. And the floor plan is in the exact XY location of the model location. But the schedule here, like in this case, this compressive strength schedule is going to be based on the upper left crop region of the schedule. In the same way with this elevation view, it aligned it based on the upper left elevation view of this one, which was right here, the coordination. So again, really nice being able to lay out sheets and duplicate them and have them be, all the views be exactly where you want. Now, so that's the, both using kind of Ideate clone and align by default, they're automatically aligned. Maybe I want to create some new views. And this is where View Creator comes into play. So I've got some floor plans here. Actually, let's do ceiling plans. So I've got ceiling plan, coordination plan. I've got level 9, top of footing, and I'll go ahead and do a shift and select all of these. So then I'm going to specify my view creator. So you see that it's now I have the ability to create new views based on duplicating existing views that I've selected, or I can apply dependence. I can do the plans to levels. Like maybe I have a number of levels that don't have, let's say, plan views or ceiling plans created. I can do that as well. But in this case, I wanted to do duplicate views. And it's got the ones that I've selected over here to the left. In fact, there was one here that even wasn't on this list because it was I had hide the placed views, but that's fine. We'll keep those the same and say next. And so by default, my rule is going to say basically, let's say phase. So we're going to create these 3 views with a different phase. The phase is going to be office renovation, and the phase filter is going to be show previous and new. And the suffix is going to be, office renovation, right? And so that notice that when I say the suffix here, OR, it's automatically appended. The same way when I do RT at the beginning, I could append or do a prefix. So it's going to create these 3 new views with these properties. But I want to show you that you can actually pull different properties, just like we did with the renumber, right? I can say duplicate phase, I can edit this, and this is sort of the secret sauce, if you will. Like, there's a formula here saying the prefix, the name, the suffix, and the parameters that I can pull. So for a suffix, instead of having the user sort of, type that in like I did with OR, I can remove that, right? So let's remove it. And I want to add a field, and I actually want to pull directly from the new view. I want to go down to phase because that's from the database. And I just say, you know what? Give me the phase name automatically. And so it gives you a preview of that. I might want to dash between it. So I'm going to add a constant, which is a dash, and say, okay. and then I'm going to move that in my formula. So I just have that same prefix, the name of the view, a dash, and then a phase name. And then you can see over here to the right, what I'm basically just checking is phase and phase filter, but I can do other view properties as well. I'm going to say save and close. And the cool thing about that now is that when I select new construction, notice the name is changing to new construction. When I changed it to office renovation, it automatically has the new view called office renovation. So that's the power of using the Revit database. And then again, show previous and new. Maybe I still want to have that prefix RT, and then I want to create those 3 new views. So we'll go ahead and say done. And so now over to the right, if I look at either the project browser or I look at over here what I just created on the sheet manager, you'll notice that if I come over here to, let's just say, RT coordination plan, I'm going to double click on that. There's the ceiling plan. And if I come down here, automatically it was set to phase was office renovation in the properties palette. The phase filter was show previous and new, right? And it gave it the name and had all these particular sort of view properties associated with it. So it's really easy to create new views. And in fact, those views, right, that I just created, they're brand new, right? They don't have, like in this case, there's that office renovation. They don't have a sheet associated with it. So what I can do is specify that I want to create a sheet, and I want to use as an existing sheet, maybe that Z.1 coordination as an example. And I would like the schedule that's already on there to also be on there as well. So I'm going to say create. All right, and so it's going to go ahead and create that new sheet based on that name. Or actually, I can edit that sheet name. In this case, it's Z.3. That's fine. I'm just going to accept it. And now when I double click, there is that view that I just created, the brand new view. It has the schedule that I specified from the other sheet, and it has the new title block. So it's, again, very easy to create the sheets based on these views as well. So all of these, the sheet manager, the align, the clone, and the view creator all work as a team basically together to help you lay out views and sheets and create your documentation set much easier. So again, all of these solutions have in-product help guides as well as online help. I just want to reiterate that we're supporting the last 4 releases of Revit, and that we do have a lot of sample content for getting started, such as the rules as an example.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you very much. Bye from me, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks very much for your time and attention.